Welcome to Farming Aid. When it comes to legendary cattle, few breeds spark as much fascination as the Longhorn. But here's the twist. Not all Longhorns are the same. On one side, we have the English Longhorn, a heritage breed born in the lush pastures of Britain, known for its elegance, gentle nature, and centuries-old role in shaping traditional farming. On the other, we have the Texas Longhorn, the rugged icon of the Wild West, bred not by man, but by nature to survive scorching heat, scarce water, and endless open range. They share a name and a set of horns, yet their histories, personalities, and strengths couldn't be more different. In today's video, we'll step into two worlds, across the rolling hills of England and the dusty plains of Texas, to discover which of these horned legends truly rules the range. The English Longhorn story begins deep in the green pastures of Britain, where it was first developed centuries ago. Known for its long, gently curving horns and distinctive brown and white coat, the breed was originally a dual-purpose animal, valued for both beef and milk. In an era before industrial farming, this versatility was vital. Farmers needed cattle that could provide meat for the table, milk for the family, and draft power for the plow. English Longhorns were hardy, dependable, and gentle in nature, traits that made them favorites on traditional farms. Over time, however, as specialized dairy and beef breeds emerged, the English Longhorn's role began to change. It transitioned into a beef-focused breed, celebrated for its fine-grained, flavorful meat. But perhaps its most remarkable chapter came in the late 20th century when the breed, once near extinction, was revived by dedicated breeders who recognized its historical and genetic value. Today, English Longhorns are a heritage treasure, prized not just for their meat, but for their calm demeanor and ability to thrive on low-input, grass-based systems. The Texas Longhorn's origins are more rugged and dramatic. These cattle trace their roots to Spanish settlers who brought Iberian cattle to the Americas in the late 1400s. Over the next few centuries, without fences, supplemental feed, or human intervention, these cattle adapted to the harsh, unforgiving landscapes of what is now the southwestern United States. Nature, rather than selective human breeding, shaped them. The result was an animal of astonishing resilience, capable of surviving extreme heat, scarce water, predators, and long treks across open range. Texas Longhorns developed their iconic horns, often stretching over 7 feet from tip to tip, as both a defense mechanism and a hallmark of their breed. By the 1800s, they had become the backbone of the Texas cattle industry, driving the legendary cattle drives that supplied beef to growing cities in the East. The Texas Longhorn became a symbol of the American frontier spirit, independent, tough, and impossible to tame completely. When comparing the physical traits of these two breeds, the contrast is as striking as their histories. The English Longhorn's horns tend to sweep outward and forward in a graceful arc, giving it a stately, almost noble appearance. Its coat is usually a deep brown with white patches and a pale dorsal stripe along its back, a feature that sets it apart visually from other breeds. Texas Longhorns, on the other hand, are a kaleidoscope of colors. They can be red, black, white, speckled, brindled, or a combination of all, and no two animals look exactly alike. Their horns are not only longer on average, but also more variable in shape, sometimes curving upward, sometimes sweeping outward almost horizontally, creating an unmistakable silhouette against the western sky. Temperament-wise, the English Longhorn is calm, docile, and easy to handle. This makes it a favorite for small-scale and family farms where low-stress handling is important. They tend to move slowly, graze contentedly, and adapt well to mixed farming systems. Texas Longhorns, in contrast, are more alert and independent. While they can be gentle when handled regularly, they retain much of their wild ancestry's self-reliant instincts. This makes them excellent for extensive grazing systems where cattle are expected to fend for themselves for much of the year. For ranchers who value low maintenance, hardy cattle that can thrive without constant intervention, the Texas Longhorn is hard to beat. Economically, each breed offers unique advantages. English Longhorn beef has a loyal following among chefs and consumers who appreciate its rich flavor, fine marbling, and heritage pedigree. Because the breed matures slowly compared to modern beef cattle, it produces meat with a depth of flavor that can't be rushed. This slow growth, however, means it's less suited for high-volume, fast-turnover beef production. Texas Longhorns, on the other hand, are not famous for heavy carcass weights or high marbling. Instead, their value lies in their efficiency and low upkeep costs. They can thrive on marginal pasture where other cattle might struggle, meaning lower feed bills for ranchers. Their lean meat also appeals to the health-conscious market, offering a beef product lower in fat and cholesterol. Beyond economics, there's a deep cultural identity tied to both breeds. In England, the Longhorn is a living link to rural heritage, often seen at historic farms, heritage events, and conservation grazing projects where their gentle grazing habits help maintain biodiversity. In Texas, the Longhorn is more than a breed, it's an icon. Its image appears on sports team logos, sculptures, and even the state's official symbols. Owning Texas Longhorns is often as much about preserving a piece of history as it is about raising cattle for profit. In terms of adaptability, the English Longhorn excels in temperate, wet climates where lush pasture is abundant. They can handle cold winters well, provided they have shelter and adequate forage. Texas Longhorns, shaped by centuries of survival in semi-arid landscapes, are masters of heat tolerance. They can travel long distances for water, handle poor forage quality, and resist many of the diseases and parasites that plague other cattle in hot regions. This adaptability makes them a top choice for ranches in drought-prone areas or places where veterinary intervention is limited. When it comes to conservation and breeding, both breeds are success stories in their own way. The English Longhorn was saved from near extinction by committed breeders who not only preserved its genetic lines, but also found new markets for its beef. The Texas Longhorn faced a similar fate in the late 1800s when crossbreeding with other beef cattle nearly wiped out pure bloodlines. It was government conservation herds and passionate private breeders that kept the Texas Longhorn from disappearing altogether. Today, both breeds are thriving in their respective niches, supported by breed associations, passionate owners, and an ever-growing appreciation for cattle that tell a story. So, which breed rules the range? The answer depends entirely on what range we're talking about. In the damp, rolling fields of England, the English Longhorn is unmatched for its combination of heritage, temperament, and beef quality. In the sun-scorched plains of Texas, the Texas Longhorn reigns supreme for its hardiness, independence, and symbolic power. Trying to crown one as the overall champion is like comparing a royal guard to a frontier scout. Each excels in its own environment and purpose. Yet, there's an interesting twist. In recent years, some breeders and ranchers have begun crossing the two breeds, hoping to combine the best traits of both, the Texas Longhorn's toughness and the English Longhorn's beef quality. While purists on both sides may resist the idea, it's a fascinating reminder that cattle breeding is always evolving, just as these breeds have adapted over centuries. Both the English Longhorn and the Texas Longhorn have earned their place in history, not just as breeds, but as living symbols of the lands they call home. The English Longhorn carries the charm of tradition, offering rich beef, calm temperament, and a heritage that speaks of generations of careful stewardship. The Texas Longhorn, with its sweeping horns and unmatched hardiness, tells a story of survival, grit, and the spirit of the open range. Deciding which one rules the range isn't about finding a single winner. It's about recognizing that each dominates in its own environment. In the green, rain-fed fields of Britain, the English Longhorn is king. On the sun-scorched plains of Texas, the Texas Longhorn reigns supreme. And perhaps that's the real beauty of the Longhorn legacy. No matter where they roam, they command respect, capture imaginations, and remind us that true legends never fade. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new upload.